So, and we do our best actually to get some insights into our practice and what kind of backgrounds and historical background stands behind them. So we'll try to be as short as possible to leave more space for questions, because actually I would expect that in interaction with the audience we can get more than from simple lecturing here about something. Okay. So here we are, and actually in this presentation we very much focus on our current activities in relation to traffic.
Yeah,
and its genealogy.
And its genealogy, which is very much important for all of us, for the whole collective, and the project we actually started recently, quite recently, but we were dreaming of for quite long already, is the House of Culture. All right. So it's the type of House of Culture that Dmitry will give later more hints on whatever it is. And we're just arriving there. We're not yet arrived. But we basically departed a long time ago, and we can say about 100 years ago. Because 100 years ago exactly, you know what happened, revolution in Russia, that made the whole structure of society completely different. And many apartments that belonged before the revolution to the minority of wealthy people or bourgeoisie were expropriated and shared among the working class people, at least in the big cities. Shared in terms of out of huge, large, one-level apartment belonged before to one single family. About 20, like, normal family would stay, and they would like share it with like, little walls and boxes, and so it became a communal, so-called communal apartment. And from this, we start this kind of communality, the communal life, as we actually refer to in some of our practices that we developed throughout past 7, maybe even 8 years already. And this communal life or communal living or communal apartment was calling also like known as well as общежитие. And общежитие as a matter appeared in life of Soviet citizen in many ways and many options, such as, for example, just give me a second, I'll get back to my PowerPoint presentation. As well as like we experience this communal life from the very beginning of our lives in maternity hospitals, when all the babies, most of you know that, were just laying down next to each other, trying to help, and like being helplessly cocooned, and that was a collective body already so far, right? So then we go to nursery, then we go to kindergarten, when we experience this educational and communal life together, being very fragile beings, separated from our mother for most of the time of the day, and so on and so forth. Then a pioneer camp, a very interesting issue that I will just refer to little more precisely in 5 seconds. Then, of course, student dormitory, because общежитие as a term comes from, it refers basically to the term that's almost equal to student's dorm in other cultures. And again, communal apartment that most of us experienced during the life in late Soviets, right? Then we see how it basically looked like. Several families sharing a kitchen, sharing a bathroom, never share, like, let's say after 50s, they never share a fridge or a cooking pan, but that's how it really looked like. But the culture of communal houses developed in early 20s, and it was really developed by revolutionary architects. And for example, in my home city, there is a very interesting architectural complex called the House Commune. That is actually a complex of 5 or 7 buildings commuted by the bridges corridors, and each and every building dedicated not only to living spaces, like rather small apartments for families or singles, but also common kindergarten in a courtyard, or common space for leisure, for common leisure in one of the buildings, and then in the other building they had sort of a political activity corner that everyone would get there and have a lecture on Marxism, Leninism, and dialectical materialism as well. So this is how it looked like. It's really a masterpiece of late 20s in quite a crumbling down state right now. You see that doesn't look really good. There are a few more pictures, and the pioneer camp. And me, Olga, Dmitry, we all experienced that we go for the summertime for 1 month or more to join the pioneer camp. Young pioneers went there, and very early in the morning, the collective practices started, both educational and physical, and both ritualistic and political. So we would gather, all of us, like 300 people, lining up, putting the flag, the banner up in the morning. So just raise a flag. So then we have drum and horns music. Then we have a political information, then on whatever news are happening in the world. Then after that, we go to physical exercises all together. It was quite humiliating on one hand and fun on the other hand. Depends on your point of view and your sense of humor. Or self-irony. And yeah, so there we grew in this kind of...
You missed one important activity, labor.
And yeah, labor camp is something different that started very early in Soviets, and none of us tried that yet. But probably, you know, it's our fortune.
No.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Forced labor re-education.
Yeah. Forced labor re-education of a human person.
Of intellectual with a false conscience.
That's the experience of Solzhenitsyn, for example. But then what we took from these experiences to our artistic and alternative educational practices is basically being together, staying together as long as possible in order to do something useful. Useful in terms of art. For us, art is useful. I was in the 80s, and like late Soviets. Probably Ola and Dima was quite a little earlier, but still the period was like...
They suffered more.
like 20 years before the Soviet Union collapsed. So being together, experience the collectiveness, building up sort of temporary collectives for the sake of self-education or alternative types of education, led us to a series of events that we called 48-hour seminars. That started first in 2009, again in my home city, Nizhny Novgorod, and it was called first seminar on leftist theory, leftist history, leftist art, leftist poetry, and leftist history, philosophy, and poetry. Yeah, no. There were four things only on stake. So, art, history, philosophy, and poetry. And we took first, we were kind of hesitating, so we took 24 hours only. And we invited all the local activists, young artists, not young artists, doesn't matter the age, the gender, and so on, and skills. And we came from two groups. Part of the people who initiated this seminar were from the group Chto Delat, and part from political, clandestine political collective called Eroded. It was a small political activist group. We went together, and about 30 people appeared, 30 people from the local audience. Again, local activists, local artists, local young researchers, theorists. It was covered up with an umbrella of National Center for Contemporary Art, which is an important detail. We started our seminar at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. gathering, like 30 people. We start to explain about leftist art, aesthetics, philosophy, poetry, and history from the perspective of culture, of course, and we start with Jean-Luc Godard's masterpiece, 1+1, Sympathy for the Devil. Brilliant example of how everything collides and how everything started to develop. Very important a kind of reference for us because it was made in 1968 exactly, and it was something that outstanding even from that period of Godard, something really like connected to the pop music, to the pop culture, to Black Panthers, and so on and so forth. So we started with like seeing a beautiful movie together. Like togetherness is there. Collective bodies started to be developed. But 10 minutes before the end of the film, the police breaks up. And we were captured, all 30 of us, including my mom and my children, captured and driven to the police station for 3 hours. So it postponed our seminar for 3 hours, and then we continued inwards.
But built even better collective.
Yeah, built even more powerful collective. But the thing at that moment was, at the moment of the conflict when police arrived, Dmitry was shooting. Dmitry was shooting how the seminar, like, boringly start to happen. And then police arrives, and then the picture is there, and Dmitry is completely fascinated. And police is fascinated as well, because the police officer ordered to Dmitry to erase from the memory card whatever he captured, all the footage. And it was a police order. What can you do with that? You cannot really misbehave in that case. But you can erase footage, you cannot erase memory. So 2 months later, we come back to the same place. We gather most of the same people from the activist side, from the artist side, and we develop a reenactment of the event, including the reenactment of the Godard film as well. So it is started to make more sense when it became an art piece in the end. An art piece including the activist activities and artistic activities and self-education all together. So for us, it was an initial point to start our own approach to alternative ways of alternative education, because it is severely needed in Russia right now.
May I just jump in? Because actually, today we heard an introduction that it's actually the project, it's about production of dissent. And just a little bit to specify the local situation. Production of dissent is actually sounds exactly like disruption of constitutional order, which is criminal activity. You sure that?
Yeah.
Better.
I don't know. But then it's actually very much criminalized because nobody knows how far you need to disrupt constitutional order to be prosecuted. But in reality, it's really something like that. Then it was said that all art is political. And yeah, of course, we believe in this too. But at the same time, most of Russian NGOs, different kind of artistic activity is also criminalized, because if you receive a foreign money, as the case of our activities in the framework of the draft, and then doing something political, that's again kind of very much criminalized and illegal. So that also brings you a little bit understanding that what we are doing in Russia with different affiliation with foreign funds and international network is actually right now pure criminal. Of course, this chance to be caught is very low, frankly to say, but you always have to take a risk. Okay.
No, I'm actually almost I'm actually almost done with my part of talk. So back to this scheme, actually, what happens here, I can point out that Soviet experience brings us to communal life experience as общежитие, and then we go through developing our collective as a very dense number of very dense people that try to be really resilient and resistant to, and between, within the group to find the language, body language as well, to to not to really survive through 12 years so far. And then it brought us to the idea of making 48-hour seminars that ends up with an art piece, with a certain art piece. And we started to think what kind of art piece could appear in the end of 48 only hours being together with a group of people whom you don't know, but who has the certain drive and interest and motivation to start to work and develop something with you. So we came to the idea that in the end of 48 hours, a learning play could appear, and then it starts a little earlier with the tradition of learning play, as well as with the tradition of Teatro de Oprimido, de Augusto Boal, and we kind of join these kind of matters, and within a very short period, with people, we start to asking and arguing some questions, develop an art piece, i.e. a learning play. So we build temporary communities based on bodily practices of common. And then with this idea of having something educational and something grounded in our practical practices, we go to the idea of the school. And the school right now, having 2 years already so far, and the school joins as a petal, as a part, to the House of Culture that really started to exist since recently. I'm done.
So, of course, I feel a little bit alone without my friends, but I will try to... Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, as Nikolai already mentioned that the main idea of our school, I will tell you about our School of Engaged Art, is collectivity. We are doing a lot of things in our school. We are doing exhibitions, performances, we have a lot of lectures, parties, discussions, morning physical exercises and such things. And sometimes our students are doing their own projects, but behind them we always keep this idea of collectivity. But that's clear because we are the collective, and we know what means to work collectively, and of course we want to share this knowledge with our students. Yeah, you decided to show. It's just some picture. Oh, yeah. Background, yeah. And but we are pretty special group. We have pretty special collectivity. We are not just the collective of professional artists. I believe that we are professional, but but not only, because you know we are pretty good friends. We are like a family. And I know that it sounds naive, what means friendship, love, and such things, but this condition let us fight to each other, you know. We are always fighting against each other, yeah, because we really love art, we like to do it, we like process, and we like the result, but we really hate compromises. Compromises. And this is why we're always fighting. But we love each other, and this is why we can. Otherwise, you can fight like we are usually do just one time, you know. Otherwise, yeah, and then so. Yeah, and I know a lot of collective when people are working together, but what connects them is only their professional activity, and they are successful, productive, but it doesn't give them another dimension. You know, we are pretty good artists, and we are, yeah, that's true, and we can work separately, and we have our, and when we decided to found our group, we, Dmitry and me and all, and everybody, we were not beginners. Maybe Nikolai was really young artist, and we were pretty well known in Russia and even internationally. But one day we decided that we realized that when we are working together, we are much, much stronger than we are working separately. And it is not like, you know, little bit stronger. Not like that. It's just a big jump. You know, that's like, and sometimes it seems to me then when we are working together, we are creating an ideal body of the perfect artist. I call it perfect. Perfect. No, I don't mean that we are creating the perfect art. Not like this, but we are creating the body of perfect artist. And we always, no, I can say from my own, I always have a feeling that we can do everything. And my friends prefer to call it to call this condition as utopian artist. But I prefer perfect artist because utopian artist it is something which is from the future, you know. It does not exist right now. But perfect artist, we already have it, have it in our history. That, for example, Leonardo da Vinci. He was single, yeah, but I think the perfect, nowadays, perfect artist can be only the collective. But how to teach it? Now we have a big question how to share this condition with our student. You can't just say, dear students, open your notebooks, and now I give you the list of rules, and if you will follow them, one day you will create the ideal body of perfect artist. No, it doesn't work like this. But everything based on your own experience, when you really want to create this real collectivity. And everybody here, I'm sure, has such experience when you start to work collectively. And from the beginning, everything looks just perfect. And it looks like all together with your friends, you can create something great. And all together, you can just move the mountain, I don't know. But in the end, people start to hate each other. And even in our school, it's very no, I don't like the result of this common project. No, I don't want to sign it because that's not my idea. Because that bad guys, I called them friends, but they limited me and they didn't follow my ideas, and this is why I don't like the result, right? No, I mean, it could be like this. But what is the recipe? And here, people usually says, never again. I finish with common projects forever. And here, people usually lost the possibility to get something really strong, you know, to get just another condition, you know. Дай мне, пожалуйста, воды. the recipe. Here is Gvidon. It's one of the best of our students. Gvidon is the name of the dog. Yeah, that's very typical. What we are, how we spend time in our school. And what is the recipe? How to help people to get this condition of real collectivity? I think we need to help them to take the third step, next step. First step they take when they decide to do something collectively. Second step is when they start to hate each other. And third step has to be such condition when they try to overcome this bad condition, this successful, you know, this, как это называется, disruption, you know. Just, I know that sometimes it is painful and it looks like just impossible, but our school is a very special place when we help people to take this third step. For example, right now, you see, Okay. О чем говорить? Atlantic? No, they show me that I'm too long. Yeah. No. First, no, not right now. I wanted to say you that, no, I mean, I have pretty long speech, but maybe that's too much. And I wanted to say you that all of our activity based on body practice. In our collective, we have amazing choreographer. Her name is Nina Gasteva. And she's just brilliant. She's not really young, and she has very strong experience. And she's a dance performer herself, and she knows what to do. And she has amazing method, and I don't want to explain or describe you everything, but maybe we have an idea to suggest you to repeat, to do one of Nina's exercise, if you don't mind. And we can try to create kind of temporary collective body. Guys? Yeah? Okay. For the beginning, put your hands on your body. Come. Well, no, it's up to you. That's any place. Any place on your body. No, 2 hands. Unfortunately, I have a mic here. 2 hands. No. Like this. And now, please, don't think about your body. Don't think about your own. Try to think about the distance between your hands. Try to measure the distance. Try to feel what is in between. Then change the position. Try to think about the distance. One more time. Then, one hand you can leave on your own body, but another hand touch your neighbor. And please don't think about your neighbor. Think about the distance between your hands, you know? That's important. Now change the position of your hands. Yeah, one hand on your own body, another hand on the body of your neighbor. And one more time. Yeah. Yeah. And please now change your neighbor. No. Yeah. And please one more time. Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much. Now I would like to show you one of our performances which we made a year ago. No, I mean, it's pretty long, but we are going to show you just some fragments. Yeah. You will see. No, first, yeah. No, yeah, they push me to be in a hurry, and this is why. But the main idea of this, you know, usually people afraid to touch each other, right? But if you really want to create the real collective, we call it collective body, you need to touch. You need to touch people, you know, because usually people keep, oh, please don't touch me, don't overcome the distance, it's my privacy, yeah? And, but you need to do it, otherwise, no collectively at all. And
We are all communists.
no, no. But, and you will see this practice in this performance. And by the way, you can see this practice, this, Nina calls it my tool. This tool in our movie, which we are going to show today at 9, right? Tonight, yeah. Yeah, and you will see how it works when it is продолжается practice enough. Yeah, and so со второй минуты. Yeah, and we made this performance a year ago, and we made it on the stairs of the main entrance of New Hermitage. New Hermitage. Of course, you know that last year we had a manifesto in our city, and it was in Hermitage for sure, exactly. And our group were invited, but we decided to withdraw. And that's a long story. And to make it shorter, we didn't agree. We didn't agree with the politics of Hermitage and Kaspar Koenig, because when they started that project, the situation in Russia was not fine, but normal. But during the preparation, the situation changed, and the war with Ukraine started, and they didn't have any plan to react for this changed situation. And this is why we decided not to be part of that. Yeah, and this performance is kind of answer to this to the manifesto, and maybe you already, I don't know, it was visible already that there are atlases on this entrance. Have you seen these big sculptures already? Yeah, and who are they, that atlases? They are slaves who are carrying on their shoulders the Russian state. That's a metaphor. No, I mean, that's a historical metaphor. And who are that? Who are our students? No, our students, participants. They are people who show the relationship between them and the state. And
каждый сверчок знает свой шесток.
Каждый сверчок знает свой
свой шесток. Мне говорят. Мне говорят. Один человек ничего не изменит. Один человек ничего не изменит. Я не согласен. Я не согласен. Мне говорят. Мне говорят. Один в поле не воин. Один в поле не воин. Я сомневаюсь. Я сомневаюсь. Мне говорят. Мне говорят. Твой голос ничего не изменит. Твой голос ничего не изменит. Я соглашаюсь. Я соглашаюсь. Каждый сверчок знает свой шесток. Каждый сверчок знает свой шесток.
Yeah. Here you can see that we use this method of human mic. When one person starts to speak, his voice is not loud enough. Yeah, but another person come and repeat, and one by one we can hear what they say. And покажи. It's pretty long performance, and this is why we show you just several pieces.
В мире без гения,
В мире без гения.
как тяжело,
Как тяжело.
без произведения,
Без произведения.
как тяжело,
Как тяжело.
без вечной идеи,
Без вечной идеи.
как тяжело,
Как тяжело.
без вдохновения,
Без вдохновения.
как тяжело и грустно
Как тяжело и грустно.
держать на себе все искусство.
Держать на себе все искусство.
А ну как возьму и брошу
А ну как возьму и брошу
эту проклятую ношу.
эту проклятую ношу.
И тогда,
И тогда
руки мои типа поднимут знамя труда,
руки мои типа поднимут знамя труда. Творческого,
свободного
свободного,
Посматривай, если держишь.
духа подъема,
для духа подъема,
народного
народного.
Родители говорили, показывать,
Противостоять.
Atlas is tired. In the end, they created the common statement. So now I give the mic to Dmitry.
So we a little bit introduce some of bits of our practice, but actually when we start our negotiations with the draft, it was already somehow in the air that the school for engaged art was kind of one of the most important practice which fit into the framework of this project. And for us, it was also very important to find a way how to develop it. And recently we came up with the idea because our school was a kind of nomadic school. We don't have our space. We permanently were relocating to some alien spaces. Most of them was kind of hipster location for creative activities, which right now actually most of urban cities full of that kind of places. And we decided that we need to create our own context and answer to the challenge when that leisure activity completely subjugate to that contemporary, entertaining, creative industries. And we decided, again, as Nikolai started to link our presentation, to go to the roots and to try to reclaim the legacy of cultural houses in Soviet Union. For those who might not know, it was really all-embracing activities. It was more than 500,000 houses before the collapse of Soviet Union. It was very much structured around the idea of different type of education, like kind of amateurish workshop for painting or for dance or poetry, photography, film. And also they have a big spaces for big halls for theater and movie screening. So it was really, in particular in the small cities, it was the only place where you can get access to the culture, in the places where you don't have museums or Kunsthalle or whatever you call it. But at the same time, for us, it's a big, quite complex task, because in Soviet time, cultural houses was very hegemonic activity. It was something that was fully subsidized by the state, and also was kind of ideological machine. And right now, to simplify and make it short, because we're a little bit running out of time, the idea was actually to rethink houses of culture in a wake of experience of different sort of activist club and community centers, like in Spain and Italy, which we know pretty well. We don't have that experience in Russia till now, unfortunately. And to rethink them as a counter-hegemonic, as a spaces for counter-public activities. And actually here it's very helpful to refer to Fraser, her depiction, what is the function of spaces of withdrawal and regroupment, and of training grounds for agitational activities directed towards wider public. So at the beginning, as we also mentioned, we must be very sober and be clear that our access, even not influence, but even access to bigger public, to society, is micro limited. I don't know, we have here people who run big institutions. Maybe in Mexico you have much better situation, which is in certain sphere, yes, but in Russia, yeah, you can hardly make any kind of progressive institution, with a few exceptions. But for us, it's really very important to reconsider that certain grassroots community activities, and also where members of subordinated social groups invent and circulate counter-discourses, which in turn permit them to formulate oppositional interpretation of their identities, interests, and needs. And then right now, we actually wanted to integrate, as Nikolai showed at this schema, how our school and different type of education and art can be linked in different other activist activities. Right now, we rented a space where we have already a place for gathering of very informal new union organization, some certain space for rehearsal of activist plays, and so on. And also this space is also based on the idea of mutual support. It's not something coming from the top, the fund, and so on. It's exactly where people who rehearse a play participate in different activities, sometimes teach each other different type of skills, and also build a new form of public which is lacking right now. So for us, it's also very important how we get rid of kind of professional crowd. And actually in Russia, we were kind of in a very specific situation whenever we made our, what was purely considered in the West as artistic activity. In Russia, we don't have artistic crowd for that at all. It was exactly the same type of intelligentsia, the people who study biology, but at the same time feel need to be part of different type of activities. Or people study mathematics or just simple activists who work as electricians or who else. And this is the part. But actually, at the same time, we don't want to agitate them in the most blatant, ideological way that leftist is good and other is a bullshit. No, we actually wanted to show them how through development of that sensibility, they create a new type of politics. And that could be the most important experience of what we right now conceived and trying to undertake in a framework of draft. So thank you, and I hope that we'll have time for question, and maybe it will be really helpful to sort out